From the Barbados Today newsroom, this is your evening news update, so glad you could join us. Barbados has started to slowly emerge from recession, recording 5.5% growth in economic activity during the April to June quarter of this year. Word of this from Governor of the Central Bank of Barbados, Cleviston Haynes, as he delivered his report card on the economy. He maintains his prediction of a modest growth rate between 1 and 3% for this year, noting that the second quarter growth rate was weaker than expected.
And the reason for that is that the tourism is weaker than we had anticipated when we did our prior forecast. When we did our prior forecast, I think there was an expectation that the UK market would have reopened a little bit earlier than it has, and therefore we had expected a little bit more from the tourism output, and that would have influenced a slightly larger growth rate. Having said that, we do believe, based on the demand that we are seeing, that there could be a significant improvement in tourism during the second half of the year as we get, let's say, September to December. Obviously, there's still a lot of uncertainty, around the numbers in terms of, we do know that the hotels are seeing increased bookings. We know that there is increased airlift being planned and quite substantial increase in airlift that is being planned. But how that translates now into the numbers, we will have to wait and see. So that really is going to be critical.
Haynes, who is hinging the island's recovery on a substantial pickup in tourism business, said vaccination of the population is a critical factor.
So as a country, it seems to me that it is in the national interest for as many persons as possible to be vaccinated, purely in terms of taking care of ourselves. But beyond that, I think that if the economy is to rebound quickly, we also have to be able to provide some comfort to those who may want to visit here, who are vaccinated, and the statistics are coming out soon. I saw something from the Fed recently that in the advanced economies, there are a lot more persons who are vaccinated than in the developing economies, because we have a bifurcated process where there's an uneven distribution of vaccines globally. And therefore, those who are being vaccinated and who have that demand to travel would also want to be going to countries where they believe that there's a high level of vaccination and therefore that there's a low level of risk. It doesn't eliminate the risk, but you want to make sure there's a low level of risk to the country in which you're going.
The central bank governor is confident about the future prospects for the economy, but he says there are still some challenges ahead and government and business will have to take action.
The immediate challenge facing the economy now is to build on the green shoots of growth experienced during the second quarter. The global economy remains on track for recovery as countries ease the restrictions that have been introduced to manage the virus. Barbados expects to benefit from the resumption of global activity, and our relative success in managing the virus so far encourages optimism that we will register a mild recovery during 2021 and create a platform for sustainable growth over the medium term. The bank has left its economic growth forecast unchanged at between 1 and 3% for 2021. This outlook hinges on the speed of recovery in tourism and the reports of planned increased airlift over the next 6 months to cope with pent-up demand for travel bodes well for energizing a strong but gradual recovery.
Thousands of Class 4 students breathed a sigh of relief today after writing the Barbados Secondary School Entrance Examination. Barbados Today spoke to a number of the students following the test, and many of them reported they are happy. Several of them said they were able to complete the test papers, while others indicated that the exam was a little more challenging than they expected.
It was good. It was good, but harder than I expected, but still okay.
What was so hard about it? What was hard, the math, the English?
It was only the math.
Only the math. Okay, but did you still try your best to complete all the questions?
Yes, please.
So how are you feeling now? Now that it's all over?
Feel relieved.
About it, it was a little challenging time at home with them, like doing the online classes and things. But then I had his sister I could able to help because I had to work and things. So it's okay. It's okay, and whatever we do is fine with me. I'm that satisfied.
It was good.
Good?
Yes, please.
What made it so good? How did you get through?
Well, I remember the concepts that my teacher taught me, and I remembered it, so I just applied it to the paper.
Meanwhile, the Acting Chief Education Officer Joy Adamson says today's test went well for the more than 3,400 candidates who took the test. But the attention now turns to students who could not sit the test due to COVID-19. Class 4 students at Reynolds Weeks Primary will now take the test next month after a student tested positive for the virus.
As you're aware, we have some students who are either in quarantine, some students who are either positive and therefore not available to write the exam. We also have one school, the Reynolds Weeks Primary School, where we actually had to delay those students to be writing the exam later because we had a positive case at that school. So those students will be writing the exam on the 11th of August. That's the date for the alternative exam. And they will no way be disadvantaged. And I just want to make sure and allay any fears for some parents. I know yesterday we had quite a few parents calling into some calling programs saying that they felt the students might be disadvantaged because of the allocation process. They will not be disadvantaged. They will be in the same pool and the allocations will be done with all the others.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Barbados Today, news you can trust.
To regional news, St. Lucia's new Prime Minister is ready to get down to business in the presence of family, friends, colleagues and supporters. Philip Jerpierre, the leader of the St. Lucia Labour Party, took the oath of office 24 hours after delivering a shock defeat to the United Workers' Party. Pierre vowed to build an inclusive society for all.
As Prime Minister, I promise to be Prime Minister not for some of the people, but for all the people. The St. Lucia Labour Party has won the general election. However, we now have to manage an inclusive, equitable, and just society. I believe that our island can be one where dignity of the human person is preserved and respected, where our citizens are treated equally and given the opportunity to grow and achieve their full potential, where the poor and less fortunate and vulnerable members of our society are protected and assisted by the government to achieve a decent quality of life, where human rights of all are guaranteed by the government to all citizens.
On the international front, people who are fully vaccinated in the EU or US will not need to isolate when coming to England, Scotland and Wales from an amber list country. The change will come into force on Monday. Currently, only people who receive their jabs in the UK can avoid quarantine when arriving from amber list countries except France. Transport Secretary Grant Shapps says it's the right move.
The government's first duty and responsibility is to make sure that we keep the domestic situation safe, and that we're seeing now, thankfully, a reduction in the cases on a day-by-day basis, but we need to see that that continues. We are very, very conscious about ensuring that we don't import variants of concern, and so I think the British public are pleased if we err on the side of caution and safety, and that's what we've tried to do throughout. But at the same time, we recognise double vaccination where they're approved by either the European Medicines Agency or by the federal agency in the States. And so now is a good time to open up. And we look forward to that being reciprocated in time, and particularly for the US market, for Brits to be able to fly there.
That's news, but for the very latest, visit our website at www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, or like us on Facebook, and sign up for our breaking news alerts via WhatsApp. We're also on Izumi Media and bus terminals, as well as Screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. You can also hear us on Mix 96.9 FM and Capital Media HD 99.3 FM.